the biggest story that emerged out of the camps in Belton, Texas, and Houston was the addition of offensive lineman David Höffken out of Germany, a 22-year-old. And David was at these camps with a nonprofit group called Gridiron Imports. And what they do is they help and work with international prospects and get them to camps, get them the exposure they need to get recruited. Well, we're pleased to welcome on here to Husker on the Headlines, Chris Adamson, who is the director and one of the owners here of Gridiron Imports. And he was instrumental in getting David Höffken back into the game of football over the last 9 months, which ultimately led to his commitment. Chris, it's great to see you again. We really enjoyed this week getting a chance to get to know you out in Texas.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It's great to see you guys again.
Chris, how often do you see something like this happen? I mean, this was, now we've been portraying it as sort of a unique occurrence that, you know, this 6'7", 260-pound German player shows up at a camp. Nebraska had no idea who he was, saw him, and was immediately intrigued. And obviously it results in a scholarship offer. How unique is it in your mind?
It's a unique situation and a unique story. I mean, we've had a number of players over the years go from Europe to Division I college football, to high-level college football, but none who have been as far off the radar screen for those major programs as he was, and then suddenly, you know, vaulted into an incredible opportunity. So he is unique. I mean, we've had guys make the jump each summer, but most of those had a little bit more. They're a little bit more well known here. There was a little bit more lead up in the recruiting than there was for him.
Chris, how have you seen David's body develop in the time he's out of the game? I mean, has he always been this put together, or has he made physical gains in the years out of the game?
I mean, he's definitely made some physical gains in terms of his overall, you know, strength and physique. He's worked really hard, especially over the last year to get back into kind of high-level football shape. But he's someone who, when we first met him when he was 17 years old, he was darn near 6'7". You know, he was 6'6", 6'7", had a great frame, had a kind of an uncanny ability to get off blocks, to bend. You know, he wasn't quite the athlete he is right now, but he was, you know, he was 17, 18 years old. But he's always been an impressive, kind of startlingly impressive athletic kid that did things that 6'7" guys couldn't normally do.
Chris Adamson joins us. Now, here's the deal. Here's some background on Chris. I don't think he'll mind me sharing it. Chris played offensive line for Dartmouth. He's highly familiar with the position and what it takes. So he sees it with a keener eye than, for instance, I do. So what else do you see about him that leads you to believe, yeah, I think he can play tackle at the college level like you did?
Yeah. You know, David has the opportunity to be a plus level athlete at that position. Plus. You know, the feet he has, the speed he has, the ability to redirect. You know, and as the game has gotten so much more spread out and fast on the defensive side of the ball, you know, especially the speed on the defense. I mean, I think he is in many ways the prototypical offensive tackle. He's not going to be a 330-pound, you know, load at one side or the other, but he's going to be able to move his feet and get in front of, you know, any speed rusher you put out there in front of him. I think that's the length he has is incredible, and in the feet and the redirection ability he has. You know, I think he can learn the rest. I think he can, you know, he can put some weight, the more weight on, he can add some more technique in the run game. But in terms of just pure athlete, I think he's going to be able to do it on the edge.
Chris, what have the last few days been like for you and your organization and David? Obviously, there's a lot of things going on to get him back to Nebraska to start his career, but have you had other coaches and other schools say, hey, wait a minute, we might want to take a look at David Höffken too?
Yeah. The phone's been ringing the last few days, and you know, we have 48 kids here in total we're working with, so there's a lot going on, multiple camps every day in different parts of Texas. But yes, there are other schools that are reaching out and asking about him and you know, offering him and things like that. So it's been whirlwind, I think, for all of us. Not just him. We're more experienced with this situation than he is, but it's still the way this thing has just kind of exploded in a matter of just a couple of days has been something that we've all had to kind of adjust and work around and work through.
Can you say who some of those schools are, or is it something that he's not really going to make public at this point?
Well, he had the offers prior to Nebraska from North Texas and then Division II West Texas. And there's if he wants to make those schools public, I'll let him make those schools public. I don't want to, I guess, break news on, or whatever on his, instead of him. If he wants to share that information, right. I'll let him do that.
It seems, Chris, like his reaction, which we're seeing right now to Nebraska offering, is such that I would think he's pretty committed. You know how the world works, the recruiting world. You have a son who plays quarterback at a high level. Does it feel like a firm commitment to you?
It does. Yeah, he's very excited. He knows what it means to be offered by Nebraska. Me as an Oklahoma guy, I consider Nebraska a football blue blood. And so both of us were blown away by by just the fact that it happened. And even though I kind of knew it might be coming, but he is committed. Like he's a very straightforward, honest, genuine young man. He is incredibly appreciative of this interest and opportunity and the other just interest he's getting from other schools. But we literally came into this week with, we just need to find you a school to get here in the States and get playing, and never imagined it would be Nebraska.
Chris, when we talked Tuesday night, obviously you're like, hey, we got a lot of work to do just to get the next balls rolling for him. Where's that process at in terms of the visa and getting to Nebraska?
Yeah, David had done a really good job. That's one of the things that we were working on, for the past 6-7 months, was getting his NCAA eligibility stuff in line, and he's done a really good job with that. There are a couple of things that are missing that were sent by his school that just haven't gotten processed. So we're trying to track those down, have those resent. But he's really close to having everything in that's needed. So we've been working on that, trying to get in touch with people in Germany early in the morning here, getting things sent, resent to the NCAA. But honestly, a lot of what they have is the stuff that actually takes a long time to get. The stuff they don't have right now is a quick fix type stuff. So we're really close to having it all done. But then from there, there's a visa process that will have to happen after he's accepted at the University of Nebraska. That will take 2 to 4 weeks probably once he's accepted, just because as the wheels of government work, it's a federal, U.S. federal institution, so it's not something that we can speed up too much, but we will have the ability to help expedite that appointment a little bit.
Gridiron Imports is something that a lot of people aren't familiar with. How the question I get from people is, how many prospects do you have? I mean, how many schools are you hearing from? Just besides David, how many other prospects would you have right now?
Yeah, I think actively we have between 30 and 40 players in the U.S. at a time each year, overlapping at times too. We've had about 300 players come to the U.S. over the last 7 years between the boarding high schools, the junior colleges, the colleges. So we have a lot of guys, but we have probably between 4 and 7 Division I prospects a year. Some like David are coming straight from Europe, and most are here in the States.
Okay,
Chris, you guys are in Dallas, and talking to you more about that, it made a lot of sense with the international airport and then the access from Dallas to a lot of different schools. Give our viewers and listeners an idea of just like what type of schedule you're on in terms of the camps that you've already hit, and then the ones that your group will hit later this month.
Yeah. So we all arrived on the 30th of May and came out of the gates with the SMU Dallas showcase and the DFW showcase at TCU the first 2 days. So it was pretty easy travel. We stayed near the airport, right around the highway to Embassy Suites. So we have a little space. We have breakfast every day. It's a good spot for us. So we came out of the gates, camps back to back the first 2 days. We usually try to schedule an off day of some sort every 3 to 4 days. So we had that off day before we came out to Mary Hardin Baylor, where we first, met the Huskers coaches and others. And then we followed that up with a trip to Houston. So some days it's an easy trip. It's a 30-minute to a 2-hour trip. Other days, we were in Houston yesterday. We were in Houston 2 days before that. It's about a 4.5-hour trip each way. But we just based on how many guys we had, we're a traveling party of about 60 between our media, between our creative, their media stuff for us, pictures, and our coaches and our drivers and our players. We just can't move our bags from city to city. Like we literally need a U-Haul, a massive moving truck to follow us around everywhere. So it works out pretty well to be in Dallas for the most part. There are a couple of ugly days of long days, 4 o'clock wake up and midnight return kind of days. But but they only get one shot at this, right? And it costs them a lot to get here. By the time they fly, you can't. There's no such thing as cheap international flights these days. So by the time they get themselves here, they want to take advantage of every moment. So a lot of times we're telling them, no, you should probably sit this particular camp out because you've done 5 days in a row. Maybe you need to take a break so you can go the next 5 days. So it's they're eager and they are highly motivated. And just being with them in the hotel, we haven't had a single issue in a hotel in 6 years. Like they're awesome. They're so focused. They're so mature. They know why they're here. And it's honestly, it's a pretty, other than the grind of the travel, it's a pretty relaxing week for me now that, I just do my job. I don't have to worry about babysitting.
I'm guessing you're going to have more and more coaches calling you, Chris, and say, hey, would you guys consider coming here? And I'm sure you already are getting those phone calls right now.
Yeah. Well, yes, that is certainly happening. And as the guy with the American number, as opposed to the international number, most of those calls are coming through me first. The first question that I always say to David, or the first comment to David I have is, if you were from Oklahoma, you wouldn't go to school X over Nebraska. So I trying to at least give him that context. I want him to talk and hear things and understand what the opportunities are, but he may not have the depth of knowledge of the whole landscape of college football, and historically especially, and also currently. So I try to give him that without making decisions for him.
Well, hey, Chris, we really appreciate you taking a few minutes here during your lunch break, joining us here in Dallas, and looking forward to hopefully seeing David up here very soon.
Yeah. Thank you guys very much. It was awesome to meet you guys down here in Texas, and hopefully David's up there with you guys ASAP.
I want to see you every year in Belton, Houston. Hopefully when we make these camp trips, we'll see each other every year from here on out.
It'd be awesome. Let's make it a tradition.
Yeah. I really appreciate what you're doing. Just as a football fan, it's a neat thing that you're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. It's a labor of love sometimes, love of the game and love of, guys who love football as much as we do.